Hello guys, new season coming. Very interested to see what's going on there. Season 15 has not been my favorite. I hope it might change up a bit. It seems like they're changing up a lot, which I'm really happy about. That's been one of my complaints actually, that they haven't been doing enough changes. So it seems like they're shaking things up. Some of the changes that I actually did enjoy for the last few years are taken away, but we'll see. I haven't seen all of it, so our reaction is kind of fresh. But I've seen also a lot of opinions. Some things I picked up on, obviously, like the 7 items, 80 carries, the level 20 top laners, 3 summoner spells. I feel like many people are getting it wrong about the balance changes happening to all the different roles, which is going to be very interesting. So I'll give my opinion once we're through and I know what's really going on here. So let's see. I've been mostly focusing on this season now. I usually don't like to dive in too far into the future, because then I'll start implementing before it's really here, kind of, or my brain will start thinking about the new stuff before the old stuff is gone. So yeah, I like to just focus on now a little bit, but let's get an overview of what's going to happen.
Hey everyone, I'm Paul, aka Pabro.
And I'm Andre, also known as Meddler. Today is October 30th, which is a bit earlier than usual, because we're flying to Worlds soon, and we wanted to film this before we left.
Worlds was bang.
This is our last dev update of the year, and before we get into some of the things you'll see in Season 1 2026, we wanted to thank you all for being on the journey with us this year.
As always, we want to show some love for your passion, for keeping us honest, and for making working on this game so worth it. Now, in January, we'll be back to talk more about Season 1, as well as a little bit of what to expect for the rest of 2026 overall. But for now, let's get into it.
Okay.
We learned a lot this year about seasons. Many of you liked what came with the themes. The map art updates, metagames, new champions, and champ updates overall, for example.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
But we also saw that if we leaned too hard into a region, it could feel very one note, especially when it comes to skins. And as it turns out, there is too much of a thing like Noxus.
A lot of red and black.
Yeah.
So,
I actually enjoyed having the very distinct differences. It makes the year more memorable. It's easier to put it into your mind too, like the different seasons and splits. So I feel like you remember more clearly what is what, and you can kind of keep track in that way. And I feel like it's easier, yeah, to keep those memories. And I like that it's very distinct actually. With the skins, I haven't really paid that much attention. I don't really care about skins all that much, but I like the theme of the maps. Even though I don't enjoy every map, I like that it's changing, and I don't need to like every map. So I hope that's something that continues. Let's see.
we'll continue to find the right balance for thematic seasons moving forwards. And
Cool.
speaking of which, it's time to talk about Season 1 of 2026. For this, we wanted a contrast from 2025, with its ancient danger, a dark inn, and quite a bit of scheming throughout. So next year, we want to kick things off with themes of unity, hope, and justice, with a drop of righteous judgment thrown in there for good measure.
Let's go the mouse out then. Yeah. It's about time. It's cool.
So that means
Big fan
Petrocite,
of
gold,
Demacia.
and blue accents on the map, as well as some Demacia-themed skins, including some champions reimagined as Demacians, with plenty
That Shogun
of
skin is
non-Demacia
sick,
skins
no?
for some variety.
Holy.
That also means that the yearly cinematic in January will feature Demacian champions. We're going back to old school Demacia this time, back in time to what some might consider the golden age of Demacia, when it was a beacon of hope and a bastion of justice.
Hey, Andre, are we forgetting something?
I don't think so.
Silas?
You sure?
Nah, yeah, let's keep going. I don't want this to drag on.
Anyway, we have a range of Summoner's Rift changes that the team will talk about in a moment, and this year, we'll also talk about some updates to Swift Play. With that, we're going to hand it over to Riot N-Step and Freak, who will walk you through some of the Summoner's Rift changes coming in January.
Hey everyone, I'm Riot N-Step.
And I'm Freak.
And we're here to talk to you about the Summoner's Rift gameplay changes coming in January.
Over the last few years, League has been largely about team fighting over neutral objectives, fighting around grubs, dragons, or that vision ward you just placed around grubs or dragons.
And while we know 5v5s make for some of the highest highs, we want to swing back towards a state where more strategies like splitting or sieging are more viable.
So we're making some changes to major neutral objectives, towers, and minions in order to do just that.
Additionally, we're making adjustments to roles so everyone has an appropriate impact on the outcome of each game, because right now, some lanes are much better at turning a winning lane into a winning game.
We also have some delightful improvements, so let's get started.
The
We're
first
talking
thing you'll
about the
notice
bot lane, are we? Right? But yeah, I like that actually. I do like that we can have some variance in the meta, that we can have different approaches, and not not just force one playstyle either, but be able to keep things open. It was very interesting when we had different clashes of playstyles earlier back in the day, where we had one teams really leading into the spippers. That was like their forte. And then we had other teams that were great at team fighting. And it was possible to do both as long as you did your thing really well. So I feel like that's interesting. It does seem like it's maybe shifting towards more of a selfish play style, which I don't like. But we'll see, we'll see. It's something about piece of strength going away and so on, but we'll see.
In January is that the game starts faster. We want to reduce downtime after you load in, so minions and basic jungle camps first spawn 35 seconds earlier than they do today. You'll still be able to pull off early invades, but you'll have to be much more decisive when you load in.
I actually like that.
We're also making some changes to vision. It's an incredibly powerful tool in League, but right now it feels monopolized by supports and sometimes by junglers. We want to make effectively warding the map easier to learn for everyone, and give more opportunities and power towards drops by pushing champions, especially mid and top laners who are side laning later in the game.
So, we're adding Phaelites, locations that grant temporary bonus vision to wards with unique bonus vision areas for each spot. Some Phaelite rings will be available at the beginning of each game, while others reveal themselves when the Elemental Rift transforms, particularly those that would otherwise disrupt early game jungle.
Okay, so on to the objective.
I don't know if I like that, because now you're just forcing certain words. There's actually a skill to putting down words, which is like a big difference. It's something I learned a few years ago, like how to really get the most of your words. I don't like that people are just going to put them in standard places and there's no skill in placing down words now, kind of, if that's going to be the case. But I don't know. That's not something I love in particular, but as long as it's also rewarded to do something different, it's still fine, as long as this is not going to be so OP that this is going to be the standard. But also then junglers will have to play around it, I guess. That you gotta evade those trackings often. We'll see.
Otacon was one of the biggest additions to the Rift this year.
Yeah.
It was a pretty cool, unique objective to fight over.
It was.
That said, he contributed to objective fatigue, which many of you cited as an issue, and we agree. We wanted to alleviate this over time. We had removed the second form of Otacon, we removed the second set of grubs, but it really wasn't enough. So, just like Zehen did, we are cutting Otacon out of the game. That includes Blood Roses and the petals with them.
What?
That said, let us know what you think about limited time gameplay changes and if there's something you'd like to see more of.
But back to Otacon, his removal also means that Baron will go back to his old 20-minute spawn time. Welcome back, King.
Additionally, we're making all epic monsters more durable, especially late game dragons as you get closer to Dragon Soul. That should make it so that it's easier for teams on the back foot to contest dragons and other epic monsters or trade something meaningful on the other side of the map.
Finally, we're also removing feats of strength from the game. We like that they push teams to progress the game and provided goals to rally around, but we think we can create better gameplay systems that allow for players to have more individual agency over their games. With feats getting the boot, we're adding back some gold rewards for First Blood and First Turret.
Another way we're looking to improve sieging is with a new mechanic called Crystalline Overgrowth.
Yeah, I really enjoyed feats, especially when feats came. It felt like everybody was very invested into playing together and getting those things as a team. And it was one of the most enjoyable periods I've had with League for the last few years. So I really enjoyed that because, yeah, people were really invested in it, wanted to get it played together to go for the objectives and not just like sit in lane. I'm not gonna lose one single minion to go for this dragon, sort of a thing, which is kind of painful for a jungler because, yeah, if you're making everybody more selfish and you're the jungler that has to play with all of those selfish people, it's a bit rough. It's not like jungle is very popular to begin with. That's something they're struggling with. But I don't know, so I really enjoy the feats, like as I talked about, having an alternative thing. It also made for different tactics, like I'm willing to sacrifice, okay, we're going to get something else here. You can still do that, yeah, I guess, but just throw that out the window. I feel like there were good additions, that was kind of cool. I created different dynamics. I also really enjoyed Otacon, but I don't know, for laners, I guess, they just want to sit in lane and farm. Objective fatigue, I could get it with grubs, but I don't know. To me, it was with the double set of grubs, reducing it to one. But I did enjoy it. I really thought Otacon was really cool, and I don't really get the whole point with objective fatigue when it's only Otacon. I get it with the double grubs because Otacon was just a transition to Baron, I guess. Baron was so big, and it's really hard to win without it, but Otacon was like a combative one, while Baron is the more sieging empowered one. which I thought was really cool, and it created cool fights, throws, exciting action, and it only spawns one, and then Baron comes at 25, so I feel like it's just replacing the first Baron with Otacon, and it can, in some games, create cool dynamics where Otacon and Baron spawning at the same time, and I feel like that's a cool dynamic, which I enjoyed. I mean, maybe it's because I'm biased as a jungler, but I thought Otacon was really cool. I also like that it could spawn on different sides of the map, which creates some cool dynamics. So I'm gonna miss Otacon. I feel like he was a good addition to the Summoner's Rift, but I don't know. We'll probably get some other things to play around, so we'll get to that soon, I guess. We'll see.
Which is kind of like a universal demolish effect. Crystals will build up on towers over several minutes, and when hit, they're consumed to deal an extra burst of damage based on how much buildup has accumulated.
Oh.
This should help enable pushing windows in more situations, even if you're behind or don't have the highest DPS.
So getting
Demolish
some
will be sticking around, but will be simplified to a good old 3-hit passive.
We love 3-hit passives.
Yes, we do.
Turret plates will now stay on
They are
outer
nice.
turrets permanently and will be added to the inner and inhibitor towers as well. We're doing this to create long-term piecemeal rewards for pushing. No matter what state the turret's in, you're likely to mine some gold by taking aggressive actions. We're not adding more gold to the map with these changes. Instead, we're going to be basically spreading out the current gold for killing a tower and splitting it across the plates.
To
makes
further
sense, I feel like.
facilitate pushing, we're ramping up minion respawn rates in the late game to give more frequent access to sieging turrets. We're also adjusting late game home guards to swiftly take you to your most pushed minion wave in each lane.
And finally, Nexus turrets will respawn with partial health missing. We like that the respawn allows a team to hold their base for a while and not have to worry about getting backdoored by a Twitch, but with a full health respawn, it meant that it was honestly incorrect for a sieging team to finish killing the turret sometimes.
Now, for our biggest change for next year, role quests.
When you load into the game in January,
I really like that change with the towers. I think it makes a lot of sense to make it spawn at half health, and then it can start regenerating slowly. I love the respawning turrets. I think they're really cool. But yeah, I think this is a nice change, which is balanced and makes sense. But this is the thing, right? When they're introducing new stuff, they figure out the mistakes of it. But like overall, I think it was a good change, and then we'll just make it a little bit better. So this is great stuff from that, I think.
bot, and mid lane will now have their own quests that reward unique power, similar to the jungle pet evolutions and the support item upgrades.
You'll progress these new quests by killing minions, champions, plates, towers, or epic objectives. All the things you'd normally be doing in a game. You'll progress even faster by doing those in your assigned lane.
Your quest is decided by which role you've been assigned in the lobby, so if you and a friend or a stranger want to change roles, make sure you do an official trade in Champ Select.
One of our goals with these role quests is to buff top and bot carry relative to the other roles, as they're currently the two weakest.
Did I hear that right? 80 carry is weak. Okay.
And as a result, the quest rewards are going to be comparatively stronger for them. Now, let's get into the rewards which will be granted in a new role quest slot.
Historically, top laners haven't always felt like they have the agency over the games that they deserved, even if they won their lane, and that's something we would like to change this season. Upon quest completion, top laners will receive pretty much Summoner Teleport for free on top of the 2 summoners they already chose. Now, if you had taken Teleport...
That is really insane. That's going to be painful. I think it makes a whole lot of sense to introduce top lane in this way so they can get more involved through with that and still be allowed the dynamics of chasing or like using summoner spells in lane. So you're not hamstringed in that way. I think that's pretty cool, actually. I think it makes sense. It's going to be sometimes annoying, but now you're going to have to play around it. What I fear the most is playing against a Jax or a Riven with exhaust and try to do anything against them in a 1v1. It's going to be so unbelievably hard. I'm not... Yeah, that's going to be tough. That's going to be tough. I don't want to see exhaust in the top lane, man. I really don't. Can we remove exhaust if we do this? I'm fine being ignited and killed. That's fine. Exhaust? No, thank you. No, thank you.
In pre-game, instead that spell gets a lot stronger, giving a very, very large shield when you use it. In addition to getting a functionally free summoner spell, top laners will also get a bunch of bonus XP up front, more XP from future sources, and an increased level cap.
Now, to mid lane. A huge variety of champions can be played there, so we wanted this reward to be good whether you're mage, assassin, or both like Malphite mid. And upon completing the quest, mid laners will receive a free tier 3 boot upgrade like the ones you could buy with feats, as well as a faster recall.
Free
Rounding
one.
it out for new quests in bot lane, we're going to lean even harder
Ah, that is so broken. The Baron recall is so broken, by the way. And are they getting those boots for free, or the ability to
into the carry
buy
part
it?
of the role. So
Sounds
while
like they
top
get it
laners
for
getting
free.
bonus XP, bot laners are getting a whole bunch of extra gold. When completing their quest, they get a lump sum of gold,
-1.
increased gold from minion kills, champ kills, and champion assists for the rest of the game. And you might be asking, well then what do I do with all this gold if I hit item cap? Don't worry, the item cap is going up. Your 7th item slot will hold your boots permanently, allowing you to get 6 full legendary items for extra hard late game scaling.
Jungle and support already have quests and rewards, but we still wanted to take this opportunity to make some changes to them. Jungle is by far the strongest role in the game right now, especially when it comes to early map influence. So
I might just bias because I'm a jungler, because I really don't think so. I think support is so unbelievably crazy broken, by the way. That is unbelievable. They're junglers without being restricted to farming and stuff. I mean, they can't solo carry in the same way, I guess, through the ranks. So if you're smurfing, for example, I think jungle is better. If you at your rank, I think support is better. Like, no doubt. I'm not going to deny that jungle is really strong in solo queue, but I've tried different roles without still being a jungler, and I don't know, I feel like it's not that bad except for top lane. AD carry, you have such a big impact because you're playing around the dragon. So if you're good at laning, when you're laning every single time, take that first tower, you're going to rotate to take the next tower, you're going to securing most of the dragons. Yes, sometimes the jungler won't play for you regardless, or use that to an advantage, but I feel like this is still really powerful. Mid lane is good because they can affect everybody really easily, enable the jungler to have big impact, or just like gank bot and top, play for dragons, have that pry for scuttle crab and so on. But they're also being bullied a bit by jungler and support. That got fixed with the lanes being pushed further out so they can't get ganked as easily, because before they got spam ganked by support mid and no support jungler, and it was not enjoyable to play mid. Now I feel like it's pretty good again. And they're getting even better. I don't know, I hope they're going to give jungle something good, but sounds like it not.
we're slightly lowering the speed of early game clears to give lane matchups a little bit more time to play out uninterrupted. We're also making it harder for non-junglers to steal objectives by increasing their resists and making Smite deal more damage.
That's
Their
good.
role quest is still getting pet upgrades and PvP smite like before, and they're now
Can we remove pets? We're not removing pets. I've been asking to remove the pets since the beginning, or at least fix the interaction, because it's inconsistent, Riot. Listen, it's inconsistent. I hit it and it doesn't do any damage. Sometimes it does 2 attacks. It's supposed to deal 2 attacks. Sometimes it deals 1 attack. Sometimes it just goes AFK. Like, it's literally just AFK. And sometimes it even reveals you going into bushes and so on. Yes, it's stealth when you go into the bush, but before you into the bush, sometimes the jungle pet actually reveals you. It's so... Oh! It makes me mad to play with the pet, actually. I like the different styles with the different quests. I think it was a great addition, but the way the pet works themselves, I think it's not good. I'm gonna keep the bad words for later.
getting increased gold and XP from large monsters when the quest is done, as well as bonus movement speed in the jungle.
Okay.
Similar to jungle, we think
That can
support
be
is
pretty
already
OP.
plenty powerful and has a very functional role quest, so we didn't want to directly increase their power. With that in mind, we wanted to give them quality of life oriented upgrades, so we're giving them a new slot exclusively for control wards, discounts on control wards, and a little bit more gold over time so they can keep pace a little better with the other roles.
Holy.
Overall, we want these quests to represent meaningful power spikes in a way that leans into the unique strengths of each role.
I'm gonna
This
play on
also
this lane.
allows us to delete the lane swap detective mechanic that we added last year to combat pro lane swapping. We'll be keeping a close eye on how quests land, so please let us know your thoughts next year.
But
Jungle
role
seems really
quests
boring.
aren't all we have planned to make your champions feel more satisfying. We're going to bring back a few items to the Rift for each class, so give them some shiny new toys, including bringing back a few familiar favorites like Hextech Gunblade.
For example, we're adding the new Scepter of Bonking for AP fighters, which will empower your Spellblade Bonk to double your on-hit effects.
That's not the final name, is it?
I would like it, but no, we're probably gonna give it something in canon.
I do love bonking. Well, anyway, given none of these names are
Oh.
final, if you're an AD fighter without a good way to get Omnivamp, you can grab Blood Sphere, which will give you some Omnivamp and also ability haste scaling with your AD.
Or if you play an AD carry who's really good at auto spacing, you can pick up Snowbow for extra range on takedown, plus damage amp based on how far away you are from your opponents.
We took a hard look at which subclasses didn't feel like they were getting enough support from the current item system and worked to fill those spaces. So we're hoping many champions have at least one of the 9 new items that they can get excited about.
Speaking of which, we're also adding
New items. I've been asking for new items. I like it. I like it. This producer item seems to be probably quite broken. I know a lot of you watching me are Vi enjoyers. I don't think it's going to be a good Vi item, sadly, but we'll see. We'll see. She's not that sustained kind of a fighter anymore.
crit damage back 200%.
All right. We know that was a lot to cover.
Nice.
We're excited to hear what you think of all these changes as
Crit
the new
line.
season kicks off.
And in case you're looking for even more details or insights on these changes, make sure to check out the dev blog that's live right now.
That's it from us on the Summoner's Rift team, and so we'll throw it back to Pablo and Medler, and we'll see you on the Rift.
Okay, let's talk about ranked. This year we've been making improvements to shorten queue times and make your matches more fair through improvements to inting and griefing detection. And, more recently, we ran a test in late
XD.
September that reduced queue times by 40% at all ranks in ranked and
Yes, I noticed. I'm getting very much filled. I don't like it. I would rather sit in the queue for 5 minutes than getting 3 auto-filled. That's my personal preference. Maybe I have probably more time to play the game than others because I'm streaming and so on and playing the game a lot, obviously. But in lower elos, the queue times aren't that much of an issue, or either, are they? Because there's so many more players. But when I get a queue pop in Master after 10 seconds, 3 people are auto-filled, and it's just going to be a whole mess. It's not fun. Because I feel like I don't get to play a real game because one team is just auto-losing by somebody being completely incompetent at their assigned role. And yeah, I'd rather play a real game instead of wasting the 30 minutes playing some nonsense that is completely unbalanced and not fun to play with or against. I'd rather wait for 5 minutes, but that's, you know.
EU West and Oceania. We want to double down on that work and make 2026 the best time yet to climb.
I like
So
that.
next year, we'll be also tackling 2 common frustrations, mismatched teams and long queues.
Yes.
Something we want to address is visual rank disparity in lobbies as well. When players start their climbs late after a reset, you may see a bronze player in an otherwise gold game, which can feel particularly unfair. When in reality, that player was gold last season, but they haven't gotten back to that rank yet because they've had less time to play. So we're adding a climb indicator to loading screens when a player's MMR is higher than their visible rank. This
Makes
will
sense.
let other players know that you're climbing quickly and your displayed rank hasn't caught up yet.
We're also making changes to how flex and solo duo MMR are calculated. A common pain point is someone who is silver in flex and, say, diamond in solo duo just stomping a bunch of games, when in reality they're truly diamond in both ladders. So this season, if your solo duo MMR is much higher than your flex MMR, the system should bring your flex rank a lot closer to your solo duo one. And that should mean flex matchups will feel a fair bit more balanced.
Makes
moving
sense.
forwards.
That's a good change.
Next, we're making changes to autofill. The reality of League is that certain roles are substantially more popular than others, and having an autofill jungler versus a jungle main can feel like an auto loss. This means that quite often people either dodge to avoid it or hold your lobby hostage in order to get you to dodge. When nobody likes queue times, this is an awful experience.
So we have a number of changes to make autofill fairer, and to reward you for sticking with the role you're assigned when you do get autofilled. First, if someone on your team is autofilled, the system will try to match autofilled players by role. So
Good.
an autofilled jungler versus another autofilled jungler, for
Bang.
example. If it can't match by roles, it will then of course fall back and try to ensure the same number of autofilled players on each team. We do know though that even with that balance, autofill games can still feel discouraging when you play your best in a role that you didn't choose. That's why we're adding a new system called Aegis of Valor. If you're autofilled and earn a mastery score of C or greater, the Aegis will trigger. You won't lose any LP on a loss, or you'll earn double LP for a win.
So for those of you who main less popular roles and therefore seldom get autofilled, first of all, thanks. We haven't forgotten about you. You'll still occasionally receive the Aegis benefit at about the same rate as other players because we want to reward the role heroes who keep the queue healthy and moving.
Well, thank you.
Finally, we know how frustrating it is to be constantly returned to the queue because you get enchained dodges
Yes.
lobby after lobby. So we've made a few updates.
First, after a positive response to our pilot test, we're removing the ability to ban a hovered allied champion. taking away an opportunity for a teammate to tilt off the planet before the match even starts. And then second, dodging a lobby will no longer allow players to escape autofill. It'll just get carried over to the next lobby. We think that the Aegis of Valor should provide a solid reward for sticking around and trying. So, I mean, come on, it's double LP for a win, after all. And
That's
at
good.
Master and above, dodging an autofill will count as a full loss.
We know that this is a pretty big change
If you're good at different roles, just queue up filling. Sounds pretty OP. I don't know, man.
from
I
how
don't
we've
know.
dealt with dodging in the past, and we believe that this will lead to higher quality and faster games. Speaking of speeding things up, we're also speeding up Champ Select by cutting down on timers and animations, which should save about half a minute.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, no, I did it.
And if that wasn't enough,
Very
we've
good.
got one last ranked change. We're adding back duo queue to higher ranks, including Challenger, in most regions. For so many people, League is better with friends. And in the past, we disabled duoing at Apex tier rank.
What if you have no friends? I do enjoy duo queuing. It's so much more fun. It really is a lot of fun. I feel like the games are really unbalanced right now when you're doing, but if more people are going to do it, it's going to be fine, I think. But I've been complaining for the last few weeks about duo queues because it seems like there's so many players who are very inflated by having a duo partner, which is substantially better than themselves. And when they then queue up solo, occasionally, because their friend might not always be up online, we're going to be stuck with someone that doesn't deserve their rank. And I find that kind of problematic. So, like, I'm almost tempted to say, like, remove duo queue completely because it makes for really unbalanced games. I see this quite a lot. I'm not trying to hate on bot lane, but it seems like it's happening more on bot lane, which makes sense, by the way, because bot laners would like to play duo. Obviously, I understand. But when they do queue up solo and their partner, it's very rare that two players are equally good. When they duo queue then, or they go from duo queue to solo queue, it's going to be a pretty large skill disparity there, and it's not fun to play with. Because it seems like some players in these lobbies are just, I'm not saying they have a bad game. You can just tell that they don't have the same knowledge as the other players that you usually play with. And it's like really obvious. At least to someone who's played the game for a long time. People have different strengths and weaknesses, but like sometimes it's just like you haven't played these kind of games. You don't deserve to be here. You obviously getting carried. So I don't know. Maybe it's fine. I do hope that. I hope that I get challenger one day, and then I'll be able to deal with queue. So I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't be too mad. I think it's good for content and so on. Absolutely, it's going to be banger.
It's because it's so often led to rank manipulation. But because of the
Yes.
improvements we mentioned earlier, as well as the ongoing work on boosting and ranked manipulation detection,
Okay.
we're confident that we can bring back high MMR duoing without it being so abused.
So,
Cool.
call up your friends. It's
I
duo
hope that's
time.
true. I hope that's true.
Switching gears,
That'd
let's
be
talk
good.
about Swift Play. Swift Play is pretty popular, and we think there's a lot of
Really?
room for further improvement. And we want Swift Play to be that place where you can get in a quick game, where you and or some friends can practice new champions, or where new players can come and learn and get their footing on the Rift.
That means Swift Play should still be somewhat competitive while providing quicker queues, faster games, and serving both new and existing players. So, we're rolling out some changes that should address the overall pacing, touching objectives, laning, and the jungle.
Nice.
To start with, we're bringing over a lot of the changes to Summoner's Rift generally that were talked about earlier in this video, except for role quests. Now, for Swift Play specific changes though, the first thing we're tackling is game pacing. Swift Play games are actually a bit long, and the general consensus is there isn't quite enough action. So things like long death timers, focusing on CSing in lane, and objective overload all take away from the promise of Swift Play. So we want to get you to the action faster and more often.
Now, while some of the Season 1 changes will help address this, you'll also start Swift Play at level 3 with some extra gold similar to ARAM. We're also lowering death timers across the entire game so you're getting back into the action quicker. And in order to keep the
You know what's funny? If people aren't careful, they're gonna be incentivized to just fight and dialogue because it isn't getting punished, and they're gonna be practicing playing like League of Legends like it's a death match, and they will come into solo queue, play the same way. I'm running down. I'm afraid. I don't know. Hopefully people can adjust, but I do think it's cool to have that kind of a, I don't know, playstyle, I guess. But it'll be interesting if we get a bunch of people playing League like a deathmatch. It can happen. I know.
Game from stalling out, we look for ways for you to capitalize on the shorter death windows. So we're increasing the minion spawn frequency, putting cannon minions in every wave after the third, and introducing a new mechanic that we're calling Minion Frenzy.
If you kill an enemy champion near your minions, they'll be inspired by your actions. They'll get enraged and attack faster and deal more damage.
XD.
We're also going to be making some adjustments to tower durability and making sudden death start a little bit earlier. And thus, Swift. Outside of pacing, we also want to decrease objective overload. While the removal of Artican helps, we're also going to be removing the Grubs and Rift Herald.
Baron and Elder Dragon will also be spawning earlier, with Elder spawning at 15 minutes regardless of whether the Dragon Soul has been claimed. The game-ending power of these buffs being accessible much sooner should help in closing games a bit faster than what we're currently seeing.
And with Elder Dragon moving up, the Elemental Rift will transform after 1 Dragon, and you'll get the Soul after 2. Finally, rounding out these changes for Swift player, Jungle. Now currently, if you're not a seasoned jungle main, it can actually be pretty overwhelming in Swift play. These broader pacing changes around neutral objectives should make it feel much more comfortable, and like you're not being swarmed with objectives all the time.
Now we know this is a ton of information and changes, but the goal here is for Swift play to feel swifter without it being so dense that it's overwhelming. We have a dev blog coming out today that will cover all of these changes, plus a lot more detail behind the specifics, so if you want to learn more, go for it.
Hi everyone, I'm Dashi Jador, product lead, back again to chat about WASD, this time with
the tech lead for WASD. I'm Riot, call me KT.
Now that Worlds is over and we're getting closer to the end of the year, we want to check back in on the wild world of WASD. We've been on the PvE for a few months now, and in that time we've caught and squashed over 100 bugs. All thanks to the feedback we received from all of you creative, maybe a little unhinged PvE players who've been helping us find, identify, and crush all of these pesky bugs. An extra special thanks to the players who are able to re-trigger the notorious new bug. Even beyond bugs, PvE players have been giving us great recommendations and requests.
One Redditor recommended that we add an option to do a single button input to move at a 45-degree angle up and down the lane. It sounded pretty wild at first, but we found through our internal testing that it actually saved a lot of finger pain. So it will be available as an accessibility option for WASD players going forward. Since our debut on the PvE, we've been continuously updating all the different facets of WASD. We've made improvements to navigating around minions, wall sliding, the new dynamic lock camera, and more. One of these features is a new auto attack system for WASD. With practice and dedication, you'll be able to weave attacks and movement, matching the experience in point and click to reach your optimum DPS. Our goal is to keep WASD as an alternative control scheme at all levels of play, not just for brand new players. We'll be keeping an
I hate this so much. I really do. I don't know. But maybe that's an unpopular opinion. I don't care. I think it's stupid. I think it's really stupid. League is League for a reason. League has its controls for a reason. Even though it's hard for some people, why is the fact that the game is hard bad? Many games are really good because they're hard. League is one of them. And it's equally hard for everybody. And even though you're coming from a different game, maybe you're coming from a different game because you want something else, not because you want to play the same game. But yeah, even though it's hard for like 80 characters to kite and so on, it's hard for 80 characters to kite and so on. I don't know. I'm not in the... I don't like that the game has to adapt to the players rather than the players having to adapt to the game. I feel like the game should have a vision, a set of rules, and we as players should try to adapt to them and play around it and find optimizations as much as possible. And I also don't like that it's going to be 2 different movements, because it's going to be very different trying to hit somebody that plays WASD and somebody moving with a mouse. So you're going to be running into players with completely different movements, and how you're going to be able to hit an ability. And yes, if you know that player is moving in a certain way, sure, it's still going to make it way harder, but also it's a more effective way to move, and it's going to be very hard to hit them. They're going to be moving completely different, so it's kind of breaking the rules. And when you're going for that first gank, for example, you've never seen him move, and he's playing a different game. It feels like he's playing a different game. I think is what I'm afraid of, and I really don't like that. It can completely break the meta and make it way different. I feel like you're not gonna just tell. It's a fundamental way to play the game. You're not gonna ask football players to suddenly now you're allowed to use your hands also as well as your feet. I feel like it's that kind of a change. It's not as big, but I think you know what I'm saying. I'm not a fan. We'll see how it's gonna play out. But I feel like trying to just cater to every players and try to get new players. It's just you're trying to make money. You're not trying to create a special game which has their own set of rules. I don't like it. I really don't. Maybe I'll change my mind, but I'll try to be open to it. But I think this is ridiculous.
On feedback as well as our internal data to ensure it remains an equitable experience.
Have fun.
We've also been updating our dynamic locked camera. We've added the highly requested ability to tune the camera speed to your liking. Along with these settings, we heard your feedback on wanting a way to scout ahead, to check for ganks, look at other lanes, and much more. So we've introduced a new feature appropriately named the Scout Ahead mode. When you're in dynamic locked camera, you can hold your middle mouse button to freely move your camera and you'll snap back on release. These features, along with all the bug fixes, will be available when WASD goes live tomorrow in all queues except ranked and normal draft games. We're choosing to keep WASD out of draft modes for now, as we want to make sure you can have a smooth process for your ranked climb.
Really?
Thank you.
Tomorrow?
Well, WASD will be live in all unranked queues except normal draft in patch 25.24, which for many of you should be tomorrow.
We saw your requests and questions about other features we've promised, like champion-specific keybinds and enabling many of these new features for point-and-click players. We're still working on them, and much more to come.
We're at the point where we want to focus on getting large amounts of player data in order to drive our development further. So we're opening up the feedback channels to our much more global audience. Now, we still don't have the exact timeline on when WASD will come to ranked. We want to ship it when it's ready, which means fair, balanced, bug-free, and smooth to play.
Please keep up the feedback and bug reports. There may still be a few stragglers out there. Only through our powers combined can we find all of them.
That's it for us. Be sure to check back out on WASD when it's
I made a video about Vi's 11 bugs. What have they got fixed?
live, and send your bugs, feedback, and best misplays.
Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you WASDing on the Rift.
And we got 2 more.
Your pickums.
Not great. Bit too much hopium when I filled them out.
I know how it feels, but the hopium's feeling good for me. I think I'm actually feeling great.
Really?
Totally.
I'm not.
Oh. Who's wearing the suit then?
We don't know.
Not gonna be me.
I mean, we'll see.
Good luck.
Okay.
Okay, we know that this was a long one with a lot of info in it. And we'll see you again in January, as mentioned, to talk a bit more about Season 1 and a little bit about the rest of 2026.
Don't forget that Ranked will stay open until the new season, so go finish your climbs, have a happy and safe holiday season, and we'll see you on the Winter Rift.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
I like that we're gonna get a nice new whole full season. That'll be interesting. Yeah, WASD, I hate it. I just said it. Taking away objectives, Otacon. I'm not sure how I feel about it, but we'll see. I feel like that's going to be a little bit sad, but it's fine. Getting rid of the plants is a little bit sad. My champions specifically benefit quite heavily from those plants. They're good on XP, and they're also good on adaptive force. Not every champ scales the same with adaptive force, so I feel like we're going to need some new balance changes, because that's been affecting the game quite a bit. That's been going under the radar a little bit. Champion like Vi, which I play a lot, has insane AD scalings and really bad base damage. So these plants have helped her out quite a bit, and also getting the XP, the upgrades for ultimate and so on. It is really big for her, so she'll just be getting a indirect nerf through this. There's so many changes going on though, so it's going to be very hard to see where it's going to affect, because there are bigger forces at play as well, which is going to affect more, but it is there. But yeah, Otacon gone. taking objectives solo is going to be harder, but also having a champion that can actually do them is going to be very nice. Someone who does a lot of damage. Playing Silas, for example, in the jungle is one big weakness is like the rate of which he can take objectives. He's very strong overall though, but yeah, that is going to be a weakness. Vi is strong on that, I guess. Getting new items, this is something I've requested. Very exciting. I haven't seen all the items. I've seen some of them. Seen something about lethality item doing damage to turrets. That doesn't really help the junglers necessarily. That it'll make split pushing better, which they are trying to do. I hope it's not going to become a completely selfish game, that we can still play as a team and move around, play objectives, have big team fights. But I don't mind some variation, I guess. We're getting Essence Reaver with Sheen back, by the way. So let's talk about Vi a little bit. Vi crit is getting buffed from 75 to 100% again. Awesome news for Vi. Sheen is being added back into Essence Reaver. So we're going to get crit, Sheen, and haste, which is going to be really big for crit Vi, I think, as long as that item is good. So we might be getting some crit Vi back. I've been playing lethality mostly lately because they got way more utility in their items, and the stats of crit, yeah, since it's so nerfed, haven't been all that good. It's been fine, but not great. So very excited about that. I don't know. Nobody is FF, man. FF. We'll see. Duo queuing, High-ELO. I think it's going to make for some really good content from streamers and pro players and so on. Great stuff. Hopefully it's not going to be too unbalanced. I hope the balance changes that they're trying to implement works. I feel like there's a lot of inting and bad matchmaking going on this season. I feel like it's much worse than earlier seasons. I feel like that's been dropping off a bit. Maybe I'm just salty because I'm not playing so well. Who knows? I think other people have been commenting the same though. Interesting. Very interesting. When it comes to balance changes, top lane, top 3 summoner spells is crazy. They can run Ignite, Exhaust, and have that TP. I think that's pretty insane, but I think it's a good change. I think it's a smart change. W Riot, actually. Level 20. I think top lane probably got the biggest buff. You're going to be able to hit level 20 pretty frequently. They're also getting more XP, and having that extra TP, I think, is a big deal for top lane. I think those are great changes. They're going to be absolute powerhouses in the late game, which they already kind of are. But now, yeah, you're really going to feel them when they're on the map. They're going to be like raid bosses, like at level 20, Jace or a Kale, Riven, Fiora, Aatrox. Yeah, they're going to be hitting hard, guys. They're going to be hitting hard. And with that, yeah, TPing into bot lane, getting a triple kill, going back, having Exhaust or Ignite or Ghost in team fights, it's pretty insane. It's pretty insane. So I think top lane got a massive buff. Jungle, some extra movement speed, some extra gold, apparently, to just compensate for the fact that we clear slower. It might be really good, by the way. Movement, we can't underrate movement. Still going to have impact on lanes, so maybe it's not as doom and gloom as we might suspect. Nerfing the early clear speed is quite a big deal. We're going to have less impact in the beginning. I don't necessarily hate it, but we'll see. We're going to have to play smart. I do think invading is going to become more powerful if we're going to be clearing slower, and each camp will give us more, but we clear slower. Invading will be good. It's just going to have a bigger impact, just like before when we had slow respawn timers, for example. I've been requesting to change up the jungle timings a bit, because that's something we used to change quite a bit in the past. Like we're changing when the scuttle spawns, we're changing when all the individual camps are spawning. I really want them to make Grump and Krug spawn at the same time as everything else. I feel like it makes for more dynamic, like clears. You can be more creative there. And you also have a safe place to start sometimes, because a level 1 invading has felt so powerful for that reason. You don't have like a really great defense against it. You do have like fine defenses, things you you get some help out with wards and so on, and you're playing it smart there. But I do feel like that's been pretty powerful. I think, yeah, getting the Krugs and Grump back would be good. Game starting way earlier, I think is cool. It's been, yeah, you're gonna have tactics already coming into the game if you want to do something level 1, which will be interesting, especially for pro play. But I don't hate it. I really don't. It's also really rough losing because some of your teammates are just like scrolling on TikTok for the first minute of the game when the game has already started. I love that dodging is getting really punished now by a loss. Autofield, playing it out will be rewarded. So if you're good at multiple lanes, you'll be rewarded. I think it's a great change. I actually do. Although I don't love playing with autofields. Very interesting. But if people play it more, they'll be more comfortable in that lane. So then the skill gap won't be as big. I don't know. It's easy to promise though. Let's see if they deliver. There's still some time on the PvE and so on. Excited to see the new items. Try out different builds. And I don't know, hopefully if I get some individual buffs. But probably they won't be like changing champions as much because there's so much going on. So they need to figure out the whole system first, how that's balanced, before they can start targeting champs, because it's hard to tell before. You need to adapt the champion to the meta first, and then you'll see how strong it is. You can't just like start targeting champs before we know how the whole meta is going to play out, because it all fits together, right? So very interesting, very interesting. I'm excited. If you watched this whole video, awesome. You should consider subscribing that, because you clearly enjoyed it, no? Maybe. Let's see. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'm excited for the new season. I hope you are. I'll see you out there. Bye.